you listening?
Welcome back to the Craic'n Coachin podcast with me, Emmett, and Donal. Donal, how's it going, mate?
All good, brother. All good. A nice wee, actually a later start than usual for us anyway, which is nice. Got to be extra half an hour in bed there.
I'm very excited for today's episode.
Yeah, you are buzzing. You are a fanboy, aren't you, of our latest guests?
Aye, I am alright.
Yeah.
No, there's no hiding it. I'm a big fan of his work. They look up to him actually a lot, I'd say. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation with him, picking his brain. Yeah, we'll keep it a secret.
We'll not tell everyone. It's Rob from the dock.
It's who?
Rob from the dock.
We're not there yet. But
we can't be asking for big names like that on the podcast just yet.
But I'd love to get Rob on.
I love the idea of getting these like guys on that are definitely a bit older, from the older generation of like the sports that we're into. But I just couldn't even imagine Rob being able to work like this.
That's the thing, I know.
Just be a big podcast of it like on his ear.
I know what
you say, son? Mate, how's your week been? I actually feel like we keep getting, I know we don't really get to chat too much during the week.
Very busy week. Very, very busy week, mate. I know you had a busy week. My week was a bit different. I was running the cross-country sports carnival at school as the PE teacher. I don't know if you've seen, I racked up 35k steps that day, which is just insane.
Mate, I've seen that picture of you looking like a vintage Irish football player.
Oh yeah, in the Irish top. So we'll play the football game afterwards when we come back to school after we'd run about all day. I was just playing MC and like setting things up and encouraging everyone, but I joined in the race. Like, it's just the competitive side of me. Made sure that I did, and you know, I quickly remembered I can't really run.
I was
other
probably
than that, other not good week. Like busy week activity wise, busy week with like stress and stuff with planning all that. But still a decent week of training, coaching, everything else. Like everything still kind of got taken care of, which is nice. What about yourself?
Very much the same. Well, a bit of a very different week actually. It was quite stressful, but I'm sure you've seen all the stuff in the news. That, to be honest, I'm not going to dive into too deep. Yeah, I'm not going to dive in too deeply, like, but yeah, it definitely disrupted a lot of work, and you're sort of, you know, I'm like, we're the type of people, like, we don't close on bank holidays. Like, I'm open Christmas Day, and to have to close up because of protests and stuff was a bit of a pain in the ass, like, and boo-hoo me, you know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal.
I didn't even think. Just because I'm so far away, that obviously that affected everyone back home Belfast.
Yeah, crazy, mate. I would say not to dive into it too deeply, like, but probably most people are probably sitting on the fence with the whole situation, or they don't really know what to say or how to say it either. But the big thing is, like, everyone seems like they're safe at the minute. There's not many people still affected by it, which is good. Yeah, I guess that's all I'll say. I feel like I could dive into a rabbit hole with that one and would end up a political podcast.
Yeah,
not the one at all. Bunker. So yeah, mad to think that the guy that actually rents this room from us, Paddy, he's a barber. His address got put on the list of like addresses to hit.
Really? I seen.
Yeah,
it was a list of addresses that were potentially at risk of being
attacked. Yeah, basically. He lives in shared accommodation with different people. So I was like, I scrolled down it to see if I knew anyone. I was like, that's Patrick's address. phoned him and he was like, stop messing about. And I was like, mate, no, your address is actually on this list. Like, which is mad. It's just mad that like you're hearing these stories and they're actually like that close quarter.
Yeah.
But anyways, did you see that? Oh, fuck, I'm probably gonna butcher it, but is it Neil Rennie? He's running like that Irish, the Irish bodybuilding day. That looks like it's gonna be class.
Seen that? That'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
there he is.
James Mac's device not accessible.
The Mac is here.
It looked like I got a wee notification there. He might have been having a wee bit of an issue. It just said ensure using Chrome.
I'm using Chrome.
I am too. I'm not too sure if James is, but surely we'll find out here.
He sent me a message.
You just fucked it.
Riverside forced a Chrome update. Give me 5. That's sweet. We'll just talk shit for 5 then.
Oh
no! The
no!
whole time we were speaking, like obviously talking about Belfast and all the madness is happening, and then a guy from South Africa comes on, and we're talking about places being burnt down, whatever else. And he's
I know.
What have I walked into here? So that's alright. It gives us a few minutes to keep chatting shit, mate.
Yeah. But it was crazy to see like roads and all being barricaded. Like,
yeah,
never really thought that would have been the case. I don't even understand the point of the barricades of the roads as well. Like, they were stopping people, checking their ethnicity through the window, and then being like, "Do you have your papers?" And they were like, "Why would I be carrying my papers?" Like, it's ridiculous. Especially if you're like, I'm pretty sure if you're of like lower generation as well, like your family's been here for a couple of years, like you don't actually need the papers anymore. It's absolutely stupid. Like, me and Patrick were talking about actually getting up and, you know, did you see your fella wearing the boxers over his face?
Sorry, no.
Emmett can't multitask, boys.
I can't at all. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so he basically didn't have.
Face.
Yeah, he didn't have balaclava, so he just clearly pulled the waistband down over here and put his face to the short leg, and then wrapped it all around there. But clearly, as he was walking, it came out. We'll cut that conversation short.
How's it, guys?
Oh, what's up? What's cracking a monster this time?
Yeah, fuck yeah, it's that time. Well, dude, it's 10 a.m. here, so it's always going to be that time.
We're across the world here, aren't we? I'm 7 a.m. I think Emmett's a bit later in the day.
I'm 4. I actually thought me and you were in the same time zone, Mac, but
I know, but we generally are. But dude, I'm currently in Dubai. So that's, you know, that explains that. Yeah. So it's fucking 10 a.m. here right now. You know, hanging out.
Okay, we've got Australia, Ireland, and Dubai then. All in one room.
It's taking over the fucking world apparently.
Trying to one podcast at a time.
Yeah. Could be worse. Oh man, this fucking couch is bullshit. What's happening? All right, boys, how's the day going? Good.
Oh, good, brother. You on the casting couch, are you?
Yeah, it feels like I'm on the fucking casting couch. This couch is, dude, it's the worst couch in the world. It's so low. Like I have short ass legs, and if I put my feet flat like this, dude, I'm in.
You look tall.
I don't know, fucking a third of a squat. Like, what the fuck is going on with this place? Some random ass fucking, and like, I don't know, do you ever, what's it when you fucking stroke the furry wall? It's exactly what this fucking feels like right now. Yeah, dude, I don't know. There's lots going on. It's one of those days. Fuck.
You seem very overstimulated, James.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, dude, this is the life of living out your backpack. You just land up doing shit in weird fucking hotels and Airbnbs.
What is going on in Dubai?
I have 3 companies here. I'm like sorting out some like fucking legal work and a whole bunch of other shits, and then I've got 2 athletes that I work with that are out of Dubai. Like athletes, not like bodybuilders, no offense. Like true athletes, like people who get paid to fucking perform. So I got 2 athletes here, and then from here I'll shoot through to the US. I'll do Salt Lake City, New York, possibly down into Miami, possibly down into like Florida for a while. Concierge work, shit like that. It's lots of fun.
Nice.
So, yeah.
How do you handle it, traveling so often?
Oh fuck, dude, I love it. I prefer it, dude. I get better sleep in an airplane, and like we're living out of a backpack than I do generally. If I stand still for too long, I fucking hate it. I hate it. Stagnation is death, in my opinion.
Keep moving.
Yeah. That's the best way to do it. All right, boys. Any ideas on what you want to talk about? Or,
yes.
Like I'm free game.
We will kick things off. We always, as our regular listeners will know, we always like to kick things off with a little bit of Gaeilge, a little bit of the Irish language.
Sure.
We usually do a focal and lay, which is word for the day. Today we're going to go with a proverb, which is far bugan den ja hampla na moran den corlia, which you're singing. What does that mean? It simply means a good example is better than a load of advice, or actions speak louder than words, if you will. So when I think of today's guest, Mr. James Mack, that's something that I feel is apparent. Like, there are plenty of people in the industry talking a good game, but James clearly is from the front. And one thing I've heard you say before, James, is if you're going to complain about something, find a solution, or shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
And that comes through in like all that you do. So whether it's free coaching, Trellis as well, which hopefully we can get to talk about, or some of the other ventures that you're building along the way, rather than simply pointing things out, problems, you're coming up and building solutions. So welcome to the podcast, mate. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate having you.
Appreciate the extended offer. Fuck, I always love talking shit, and if I'm going to try and understand both of you. This is like up there at a high level nightmare between the two. Like that proverb, I was just like, I can't.
Right.
Actions over words, fantastic. Right, that is it there. But yeah, dude, appreciate the invite as always.
Yeah, I'd actually said this last night in our call. I was like, "There's no way this guy's going to understand us fully."
Yeah, it's gonna look. The funny thing is, I actually have a decent array, or have had through my coaching history of like Irish clients. So like, it's not far off. I've got the Scottish background, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Like, what's the deal with Scotland versus Ireland? Like, good, bad, who knows?
Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland. Yeah. And until we're playing you in rugby and beating the shit out of you, no offense.
We just don't like England, really.
Yeah, you know what? Being a South African and like a bit of an Afrikaans South African, so like, do you guys know much about the South African history with England?
No, sir. But no. If it's as deep as
it's the same. It's very much the same. So obviously, like, England came and colonized South Africa back in the day, and we had the traditional Afrikaans, the Boers, and we had the Anglo-Boer War, which I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that. So it's the English and the Afrikaans War, a big war in South Africa. Funny enough, sorry, that sounds harsh, but funny enough, we had the English put a lot of the Afrikaans in concentration camps. Like, there was actually a whole bunch of like history that isn't spoken about. So obviously, we don't have to get into it, but from like a South African standpoint, from a political standpoint, we will know about apartheid, which is obviously like where there was the segregation between whites and blacks, and there was kind of like that aspect of our South African history. But a lot of individuals don't know about the English and Afrikaans War that was kind of preceded that before that side of the equation kind of came through. Our more famous history, or infamous history, if we would kind of say, So yeah. As long as it's not the English, we're good. We're fine. We would call it. So if you were English South African, which technically I could kind of be classified as to a certain degree, we'd call it. You'd be referred to as like a soti. So soti refers to like salty, and it referred to as like you would have salty nuts because you had 1 foot in South Africa and 1 foot in England, and your balls would be dipping in the sea. So that's where and technically it's a derogatory, it's not a derogatory. It's not as bad as some words, but it wouldn't be a positive phrase that you called someone in terms of these things. Yeah. So. Yeah, good old South Africa. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, well, with the World Cup starting and stuff, it's just anyone that's, because Ireland aren't in it, anyone that's playing England, that's who we're supporting.
Yeah, other than South Africa that lost and had the most red cards to date in one.
Oh yeah, true.
Most red cards to date in one match, and totaled the entire amount of red cards that the last World Cup had in the first game.
First game, good start.
Yeah, that's it right there. It's like, go boys, just to hammer it down. Apparently,
straight in, yeah. No messing
maybe they're just not playing the right sport.
Yeah, rugby. Like look, in the nicest way, we're not of all of our sports. Like cricket, we're up there. We know this. Rugby, we're up there. We know this. Even like our netball team does very, very well. South African female netball team does very, very well. Our hockey team does very well in terms of that. Soccer, not your sport. No, there was a joke going around at one stage. It was actually an Irish lady. Fuck, I should have sent to you guys. It was an Irish lady. She was like making a reel, and she's like, "Welcome, South Africa. You now know what it feels like to participate in a sport and not just be good at it." It's like, yeah, you're getting you're getting what we all feel like generally when we have to play you. I was like, oh fuck, fair. This kind of sucks because we are quite up there within our sporting achievements across certain disciplines.
So just decided to give you like a handicap. They were like, we'll need to make you bad at something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And if you're going to be bad at it, be really bad at it. Get the most red cards possible in one game.
We're definitely not good at it. Like the first time we ever made it into the Soccer World Cup, and I could be wrong, so please don't fucking fact check me on this. But one of like our first attempts of making it to the Soccer World Cup is because we hosted it, not because we made it there, but because we were hosting it. We got like this free pass entry into it in 2010. That was our first ever appearance into the Soccer World Cup, is because we hosted it. We paid our ticket. We paid our way in. That's essentially what we did. Yeah.
That was a big World Cup. I remember the song and the music and stuff that came with that.
Fuck yeah, dude, that was. I worked medical for that World Cup, so I was a paramedic at the time. So I was doing the medical for that. That was a nightmare, shitstorm, not a fun time. In
medical for the teams or medical in just like public,
like paramedicine. So at that stage, I was doing emergency medicine and coaching at the same time. And then so what happens with every kind of sporting event, you have to have paramedics on standby. So you'd have a full clinic set up. So you obviously got like your team doctors, all those types of things, and we would have to liaise with team doctors, but then we would cover the medical that would then look after on the field play and then the entire stadium as well. Right, so we kind of like it's a nightmare. Just think like your soccer games, like think of the shit that goes on there. We got to deal with that and the on-field stuff and everything kind of going on. So it was not fun. We did the training for so like as part of FIFA, they have some pretty strict guidelines with regards to like medical attendance, in terms of like their protocol, their scope of practice, like how it works. So we would have to be, and I'm going to butcher this, I do apologize once again, but it was something along the lines of if a player went down on the field, that was more of a severity than like just an injury or something like a cardiac event. We would have to have from tunnel to player, defib onto player within something like a 15 to 20 second time period. So you'd have to like belega, run really, really fast to kind of be able to do that. And that we did training for this, we did all the things, and this was kind of the emergence probably around like maybe within the 2 year period where we had quite a lot of those cardiac events. There was quite a few of those cardiac events that kind of happened on the soccer fields, not the not the 2020 ones, which were random, but we don't have to discuss that because you guys will just get cancelled by some magic in being. But there was a whole bunch of those cardiac events that happened on the field, and a lot of it,
I remember this.
We see and we have in the literature in terms of early defibrillation, like the successfulness of a resuscitation with a defib on someone as fast as possible. CPR is good. Early initiation of CPR is good, but the faster you can get a defib onto an individual, the higher likelihood of them actually surviving, like significantly skyrockets. So, fun fact: if you don't know anything about CPR, get a fucking defib on them as fast as you can. Pump chest and put the pedals on or put the pads on, and let the machine do the work as fast and as soon as possible.
I'll keep that one in mind.
Anyways.
So your shuttle run must have been pretty fast then, if you're getting 15
Oh yeah,
seconds
look, dude, I was also 30 kilograms lighter, so yeah, I could run back then. I could run now. Fuck that, dude. Hell no. I ain't running from nobody. Just like get a clip in from this of me doing like a 40 yard dash, just watching a fridge. That's all you're gonna see is just a fridge trying to move and like a torn hamstring. That's all that's gonna happen.
Just beeline into the next tin of Monster in the fridge.
Yeah, something like that. That's it. The walk that I need to do is, I don't know, what's this, fucking 5 meters? 5 meters, yeah. I can get the next Monster up. Yeah.
You still be out of breath?
Yeah, 100%. Probably still be out of breath, yeah. Funny, the climate here is one of the biggest things that's kind of affects respiratory kind of distress in any shape or form. Obviously, being here in Dubai right now.
No plans to move to relocate to Dubai then?
Yeah, look, it's on the cards. To be 100% honest, on the cards. Funny enough, probably next week or the week after, I'm looking at a rental just to kind of sort out the paperwork, get it done. So I'll have a home base between here, Australia, and the US. So company base. So obviously, the way that I've kind of set a few companies up, I have a visa in the US as well, so I can work. I can come in and out of the US. So there's only the committed setup in the US, Dubai, kind of those are our main hubs, and then Australia was my out of South Africa when I kind of started. That's how this entire thing transpired.
So I wanted to get a bit of insight into the sort of background. So you were in South Africa, obviously 2010.
Further
that
than
season World Cup. When did you make that move over to Australia?
To Oz. So 2019, end of 2019, I moved over to Australia. I accepted a job position. So beginning of 2019, I had my second hip replacement. So I had a full hip replacement at the age of 2020. No, sorry, I lied. 2015 was labrum. 2016 was... Yeah, beginning of 2016 was first hip replacement. 2 years later, or 2.5 years later, we then landed up kind of having the revision after a failure. So end of 2018, I had the second hip replacement. Beginning of 2019, I, at the time, had a residency visa in Australia through my father. My father immigrated to Australia when I was 18, somewhere around there, 18, 19. He got a job offer and moved over there. I stayed in South Africa. I competed in Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting. I represented South Africa at Commonwealth in 2015. That's when I got injured. Landed up with the hip replacement in 2019. I sat there and I was like, well, at the time the country was going through some political issues, and there was a bit of like instability and some things going on. And I sat there and I was like, it's cool, I can get on a plane and I can fuck off whenever I wanted to. I can, I've gotten out, but I don't have a qualification. I can't do anything. I can't work. Right? And when I say I don't have a qualification, none of my qualifications are recognized in Australia. So like I did emergency medicine up to advanced life support. So full-fledged kind of paramedic, if we want to call it that. 3,000 plus hours of operational work. Like we worked in what is considered the trauma capital of the world. I've seen more gunshots, stabbings, MVAs or motor vehicle accidents, PVAs. I've seen all of the shit under the sun, but none of that gives you anything in Australia. Nothing. Like I'd have to, if I wanted to continue in emergency medicine, which to be honest I didn't. If I wanted to, I'd have to go back to university and do 4 years of degree study again, and then kind of, I don't know, go and put fucking plasters on people. Like that's not. Once you've gone from, treating gunshots and fucking stabbings and shit, like, I don't know, here's a fucking plaster. No offense to any paramedics. I have paramedics back home in Australia that I hold dear to my heart, but not my vibe. Anyway, so 2019, I was like, well, I love this fitness thing. I've always been doing this fitness thing. I do this coaching thing. How can I set myself up or study in some shape or form? And luckily at that time, online learning seemed to be kind of making a bit of an upcoming. So I studied my Cert 3 and 4 via distance learning at the same time, because then in my head I was like, cool, I get on a plane, country goes to shit, I get on a plane, I fuck off, I land in Australia, I've got a residency and I can walk into any gym thing, I can be a receptionist, I can do whatever I want, I have a qualification. That was like my fail-safe. Like I think my brain works in the capacity of kind of forward thinking to be able to work backwards in a lot of what I do. Risk assessment is what I'm very, very good at in terms of that. So that's what I started doing. And then came towards like middle of 2019. And they were like, look, we've got, like, I smashed out Cert 3 and 4 fucking within 3 months type scenario. And they're like, you got to do the in-person stuff. And I was like, well, like, that's a little bit difficult. I'm on the other side of the world. And then, like, we've got dates around here, and there were dates around my dad's 60th. So I was like, sweet, I'm going to surprise my dad's for his 60th, do these things at the same time, win-win, and then go back to South Africa and carry on with my life. Fast forward a little bit, did the in-person, they turned around, offered me a job, which I wasn't kind of expecting, and yeah, I accepted the job, went back home, sold everything in about 5 days, and got on a plane 7 days later and immigrated. That was it. Surprise, Australia. And that was that. So sorry, drop a bomb on you. No. That's, if there's any questions, comments, concerns from that, you hit me.
Yeah, let's go back right to the start, because I've seen pictures and I've heard things. So that hip replacement looked absolutely fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did we need hip replacement?
So 2015, I was beginning of 2015. Prepping for South African champs weightlifting. In the same time, we kind of do powerlifting as kind of a secondary. That's kind of like what we did. It's like you're doing squat and deadlifting anyways out of weightlifting. Kind of just add some bench press into it. Qualified for Commonwealth champs for that at the beginning of the year, and was doing weightlifting. Middle of the year, SA champs, pulled in a clean and like leg buckled, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, that's like, it wasn't crazy heavy, but it wasn't anything stupid. Got the lift, did what kind of required, and then for about 3 weeks after that, just couldn't squat, had nothing. Like, I'd come down and I'd try and hit the hole, and there was just nothing there. Fast forward a little bit, went to like my sports chiro at the time, landed up getting an MRI, landed up with a full labrum tear. All right, so the anterior labrum tear, like, a pretty good one in terms of that. Now, you can argue many things off the back end, but it would have happened at some stage of my life. And funny, gentlemen being here from the background that we are, aka kind of our continent and our upbringing, our morphology, we are probably more likely to have some form of labrum tear in the long run, just because of how our femur and our acetabulum sit in terms of the cavity space. We are likely to have or be on the closer side, Scottish, Irish, all of that in terms of how the bone structure sits. We're likely to have something that sits there. So it was just exacerbated due to kind of the sport that I was playing in. Kind of is what it is. Went in for the repair, literally got home from Commonwealth, landed on, I think it was like December 14th or 13th, December 15th, straight in on the table, did the repair, and had a bad op. Right, so came out of that, repair failed, had nerve damage from the spinal block, the spine tap that they had put in, lost a stupid amount of weight on my leg, didn't have any pain, I had no sensation, no heat, no cold sensation on the leg for about 3 months. It was just a mess. Long story short, off the back end, the body rejected the anchors. So when you do a labrum repair, they kind of take like this wire and they put it on either side, and they drill into the acetabulum and then they pull it tight. Right, so kind of think of like a cable tie. but they've got to put it into an anchor pace, and the acetabulum rejected the material. That material kind of then got loose within the entire hip cavity and continued to kind of tear everything up in there. So had a failed labrum repair, went in for the second one, repaired it, fine, felt okay-ish, kind of went through like rehab. Within about 4 months after that, just started getting this like debilitating pain. Like to the point of lying down was painful. Got to the point where I almost tried to kill myself, just because of how much pain I was in. Like it was bad. It was really, really bad in terms of just chronic pain. Funny enough, went over to see my dad in Australia because I just couldn't handle things. Saw a sports physician there, and he turned around. We did a functional MRI, and he turned around and he said, "Look, sorry to put this to you, man. Like you're 21 years old. I just turned 21. It's like you've got AV necrosis of head of femur. You need a full hip replacement." So AV necrosis is lack of blood flow to the femur, so the bone was dying. Now that's why I was in so much pain. It literally was necrosing. So the head of the femur was just basically dying away.
Fuck me.
And so that's it.
The whole structure is just...
Yeah, just basically compromised. You got no blood flow to an area. It starts to necrose. It starts to die away. So head of femur landed up kind of having to be chopped off. So they chopped off the first quarter of the top of the femur, put in a new one, put an acetabulum, kind of put this all in. Felt great. Fuck, dude, felt amazing. From the pain that I was into that, like I literally felt like my life had changed. And then 2 years later, I walked in for my checkup. About 18 months after that, started getting a bit of like quad pain. I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just training or whatever it is. 2 months after that, walked into my surgeon's office. Surgeon looked at me, started crying, and was like, look, your body's rejected the implant. You got to have a second one. And I was like, great. And that was it. So had the second one. Second one was 2018. 1 year later, I had my 1 year checkup, and they turned around and said, your body's rejecting this implant as well. And I was like, great. So we're, 3 years into the mix here, and I'm technically 2 hip replacements in, requiring a third. And he's like, yep, so let's do it. And I turned around and I was like, no. I'm not doing it. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you can't guarantee it's going to do well. Like, what's the downside, right? He's like, just pain. And I was like, sick, that's fine. I've handled pain, and I'll handle pain. So I lasted 2021 to 2000 and... No, sorry, not 2002. Yeah, 2020, 2019, end of 2019 was when that happened. 2020 was 1 year later. I had my hip replacement 2 years ago. 2024. So I lasted, 5 years of just excruciating pain, living in fucking pain. Got to the point where, I just couldn't handle it anymore. And then I went and found a specific specialized surgeon in Brisbane who did the third one. That's where we're at.
Has anything changed in terms of material used, etc.? Like, is there any more guarantee that it is going to take?
Look, this with my luck and how things work, I'm trying my best to hope that it is. I've purposely not gone and done my second my 2 year scan because I don't want to know. It's kind of like one of those things of if I don't know, it's fine. Look, I think it's okay. I don't have any of the residual pain that I kind of had prior. Fuck, there could be some prosthetic loosening. There could be some things there. The surgeon I went with was extremely, very, very good. He kind of works with, works within the military field within Brisbane. So he works with a lot of soldiers that kind of run into issues from rucking, from carrying heavy gear, parachuting, etc. like that. So he's very well versed in the more athletic side of an individual, not just like an 80-year-old. And that was part of our biggest problem with all of this, and even the rehab setting. There's no literature on a 20-year-old having 2 hip replacements and what the long term is off the back. How do you rehab a 20-year-old who's had 2 hip replacements? At that time, they're usually 80 years old, and gravity is their hardest fucking thing that they kind of go up against. Right, and here I am at 20 years old, still. So that was kind of and funny enough, that's what really led me into the field that I currently work significantly in. From the biomechanics standpoint, the rehabilitation standpoint, what I do very, very well was off the back end of all of these things. So I always say, as shit as all of this has been, dude, I wouldn't be the coach that I am without it. That's it. It led me down the path of asking better questions.
That's actually what I was going to go on to and ask you next. Like, obviously it sucks getting going through what you have to go through, but like the lessons learned off the back of that. And I know like nowadays, for example, you will obviously specialise in injury management, the pre-script stuff as well, like a lot heavy around obviously biomechanics, but also like injury prevention as well, and stuff like that. So is that what's kind of led you down
so
that next path in your career?
The to take a bit of a step back after the first hip replacement, I actually messaged Jordan Shallow at the time, like the muscle doc Jordan Shallow, one of the co-owners of Prescript. I messaged him back then, and I was on Instagram, fucking this random kid from South Africa, like, hey dude, like, I have no idea what's going on here, because there was no physiotherapist that could understand. Like, no one knew how to rehab this in any shape or form. And like I got a few like back and forths from him. I landed up like spending a whole bunch of money that I was making, because the conversion does not help in any shape or form. Like, South African rand to US dollar is like 18-1. So it sucks. Like, it's real shit. Anyway, I got like a hip rehab program from him, and I started doing with that. And that was kind of like, because he was in powerlifting, because I was in powerlifting, that's how I knew of Jordan from that. Kind of liaised itself off. When I moved to Australia, I realized very quickly like how far behind I was from an education standpoint. Like, South Africa is not up there in any shape or form. We are pretty fucking far behind. So I came over into this job in Australia, which, respectfully is significantly higher than most of the world. Definitely nowhere near kind of the US in pockets, to be honest. But at the same time, there's a very much an upskilling or a wanting to upskill within Australia, which is really cool. At the end time, I think that's a big part of this. So I kind of jumped into the deep end, and I was like, well, I need to learn fucking everything. Like, I didn't move over with a lot of money. I sold pretty much everything, like I said, and I literally spent 80%, 90% of what I had on just education immediately. So I jumped into every course I could, specifically biomechanics, specifically anatomy, kind of jumping into these elements of trying to upskill myself, and that's where the continuous love for it occurred, because, like I mentioned off the back end, I went through this experience, and everyone kind of just treated us as, Peggy Sue at 70 years old. And I kept kind of coming up with this concept, like, but why? Like, that's a big thing that as I grew up from, from like 6 years old type scenario, my parents would kind of attest to this, or my dad would attest to this now, and maybe my school teachers, like, I was the annoying kid who always wanted to know why. And like, I remember, dude, I was labeled as the problem child. And I remember my ex powerlifting coach at the time. Like, I remember asking him the one day, like, we were going through a program, and he was like telling me, and I remember asking him, I was like, why? Like, why are we doing this? And I remember him fucking ripping into me. Subtitle, like, and he just like hammered me as to this. And like, in hindsight, like, fucking asshole, but at the same time, and I remember for about 8 months, dude, I just never asked why. Again, after that, because I was just like, so, like when you get, completely lambasted for something, you kind of don't really want to go there again. And there was a time period in that, I would say that I decreased my ability to increase education just because I wasn't asking why. And as I got to Australia, I started kind of going through these principles more and really digging into the understanding of like, why are we doing something? Like, when you ask why more, not just from like, why you're prescribing the exercise, or why is the pain present, or like, why does this happen? Like, then you start coming down, you start learning like principle level things, right? We can ask, I can say to Emmett, like, hey man, like, I want you to have 400 grams of carbohydrates, right? And with this 400 grams of carbohydrates, we're going to split it up in X, Y, and Z percentage, X amount pre-training, X amount post-training, etc. And like, you can be like, cool. Right? Or he could turn around and be like, all right, well, why? Like, let's break down the why as to why we're doing this. Okay, well, let's talk about replenishment in terms of glycogen, right? Let's talk about energy system use that we are going into. Let's talk about from a cellular level within the Krebs cycle, like, what is going on here. All right, cool. We understand that there is going to be the conversion from glycogen via fucking the 8 different processes. That's going to give us the ATP and come out. Now, off the back end of this, we can start being a little bit more critical thinking or more in depth in terms of that. Of like, all right, Emmett, how do we maximize that? What can we do? Why does that process occur? How does that process occur? Like, this is where, like, this to me is the higher level thinking. It's like, okay, cool. Krebs cycle. Fantastic. How we make energy, right? Well, part of the Krebs cycle, like, what could we upregulate within there? What could we add? What could we bring into the mix? Right? B vitamins. So, like, and this all stems from, like, a wanting to understand why something works. Right, so that's like, and it's a really shitty example, but I think it's a very good example, because how many times have you thought about it when we look at energy systems or regulations? Like, we give a diet, we give a macro split, we suggest some supplementation. It's like, but why? What is it doing? What is its maximization utility behind all this? Now, none of that occurs if you don't have this inclining to, like, understand why something happens. Why does X exercise work? Why does X macro prescription work? Now, on top of that, how can we go further into this? How can we maximize on it? And that only happens if you understand the why as to what is going on. Right? So, like, the biggest thing that I have found, and I try and teach to anyone, ask why. Why is it occurring? Right? And when you ask why is it occurring, you can reverse engineer this process and then come up with better conclusions or better prescriptions or vitamins, supplementation, whatever the fuck you want to kind of look at. If you can ask why is it happening, you can come up with better answers. That all stems from that process.
So
sorry, that kind of went slightly fucking off of the question of, like, how did you get into the coaching? But yes, you guys kind of get the gist, hopefully.
Yeah, that's actually sparked a couple of questions for me. So in terms of your coach to client setting, do you push for clients to ask why more often, or do you 100%. Just completely bypass that by giving them the why before? Like,
bit of both.
Yeah.
So a bit of both from that. So because I'm very heavily, like, in the education field, and not just because I educate, as you guys can tell, I like talking. Right? I like kind of explaining the rationale as to why this is going on, but off the back end, I also like trying to give as much context as I can. Because unfortunately, we work in an industry where it's very easy for me to try and pretend to swing my dick and be knowledgeable at what I'm doing and just give you a one-worded answer and be like, it depends. It's like, okay, well, it depends on what? If you say it depends, like, tell me what it depends on. Now, the downside to that is we can, you ask one question, and apologies, you asked fucking about something that is not related to this in any shape or form, and we're 10 minutes down the line, and we're at 300 different contexts behind the conversation from a sparked off question that you asked. However, I think at the end of the day, it's your job as a coach to try and provide as much information or as much context behind why a decision is being made as you can, until a client tells me to shut the fuck up, which, like, I have. And, like, I have clients who are like, hey, man, like, I love this, but, like, I can't listen to your check-in for 20 minutes. It's cool. I love it. It's great. But, like, sometimes that's just not the case. And, like, and all respecting of that 100%. And there is, there's a give and a take in that scenario of, as you develop as a coach, as you develop your service, you're going to have to learn to develop personalities. So, I very much have, like, a style in which I perform my coaching, 100%. But I also have, like, these small little substrate styles of that. And that's not to cater for everyone's need, because, dude, at the end of the day, like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm well aware of that. That's fine, right? But I also work with a unique set of individuals that have certain character traits. Like, I have some clients who are very high level, high CEO, like, make more money than God, all right, himself. Right now, that person doesn't want to hear me talk about the fucking Krebs cycle. I'm telling you now. Right? Do you know what that person wants me to do? That person wants me to light the fire under their ass and give them a result. 100%. They want to know what they are fucking doing. And then off the back end of that, I have to know how to get that result out of that individual. Right? So that individual, like, if I just went to them and I'm like, hey, like, you need to do X, Y, and Z, they're kind of going to do it for a time period, and then they're not. right? Because and respectfully, the priority of it is not as high up as them working 20 hours a day, like signing deals that I would never in my life think of. And like one of my dudes signed like a $20 million deal at like 11 p.m. at night. Now I'm going to be like, hey, bro, you really got to focus on your REM sleep. Fuck off. He's not going to like, there's nothing behind that that's going to conceptualize into his brain. So I, as the person, as the coach, have to be able to kind of speak to these people very differently. I have a model, I have a structure, I have a way in which I do things, but I always use the term like we have to positively manipulate the individual in front of us, because that's our goal. Like, we have to find out how to manipulate them. Like individuals like that become very goal-focused and orientated on a process. A lot of it becomes performance-based for them. But I can't just be like, here's your reps and your sets and go into your exercise. Those individuals, I have to kind of like bait and switch. So a lot of times I'll be like, I've programmed like the pendulum squat for like a 6 to 8. I just don't think I don't think you're going to get 8 reps. Like I figure you're going to get maybe like 6 at 100. Yeah, let's see. I'm fine if you get 6. Yo, do you want to know how many fucking reps he's done? 8 to 10.
10.
Right, and like in that high, and that's the manipulation. Right, that's what you got to get really good at as a coach. Is like how to do that. Now, off the back end of that, I speak about her a lot of the time. Her name's Tessa. She's just turned 60. She's a fucking badass. She does Olympic weightlifting, and like she just hiked something like, I think it was like 82 miles over like 5 days. Something stupid. No, it was way more than that. She was hiking something like 20 miles a day. Her and her husband in the UK. Fuck, not my cup of tea. Wouldn't do that shit to save my life, all right? She's just had like a couple knee ops. She fucking, she snatches. She pendulum rows just under 180 pounds. Yo, guys, that's fucking strong. Like for reps.
Sorry, I'm trying to do the transition over for
so here. So 180 pounds, so that's like 80 kilograms. Yeah, like 80 kilos. And like she's 120 odd pounds. Right, like something. Like she's just a fucking badass. Right, she's a badass. But with her, I have to be a little bit more finesse. Right, I have to be a little bit more kind of like gentle in terms of my approach. Sometimes, look, to be fair, she was very high up, very high driven, atypical, like very, very much in terms of that. So there is this fine line, but there's also this other side to it where I have to coerce her into what I want a little bit more gently. Right, not. Yeah, I don't think because if I was like, to her, I don't think you're going to do it. Do you want to see her not do it? Immediately won't do it. He doesn't believe in me. He doesn't think that I can do that potential. That's how it works. Right, so we have to have this ability. And sorry, your original question of the education side is this. The education side is like in the check-in, like I will give the feedback, the understanding, like why are we doing the process, all of that. And then a lot of times it comes back on like what are the questions, what are the follow-ups that come forward? How much information do they give me in a check-in? How much information do they provide me in terms of these things? Like, what is the give and the take? And I think that's a very important part of coaching is, you can scream the house down for a check-in as long as you want. But if a client's giving you sweet fuck all, it's like, yo, is it working? Is it landing? Is it not? Like that's it is a relationship. This entire process is a relationship. You have to curate that. That takes time. That takes, experience, that takes, again, communication behind all of these things, the comprehension of, like, how does this person speak? Do they want more minimalistic things, more bullet point things? Do they want a lengthy explanation? Do they want the understanding? Do they want the humorous or do they want the arm bone? Right, those are all the kind of things that come up and how are we going to discuss and how are we going to kind of continue this back and forth communication of what we do.
Yeah, clearly meeting people where they're at rather than just diving deep into it whenever it's just going completely over their head. And 100%. In terms of that there, how has Trellis helped optimize your coaching delivery? Yeah.
So Trellis being the check-in recording software, the screen recording software that we developed and brought out as kind of hopefully the next standard, and hopefully I say that respect. It will be the next standard. yeah, look, you said it, not me. I legally can't say those words because I don't want to get sued, but it came out of your mouth. Yes, look, dude, it all came from, honestly, about a year prior to even going back home. So I've told this story, and I'm slowly starting to kind of get it out there a little bit more. So my mom passed away last year in December. Unfortunately, she had a brain tumor, and went in. Surgery failed, unfortunately, and she had a stroke on the table. She landed up being paralyzed on her left-hand side, couldn't speak, couldn't walk, couldn't kind of do anything. She was awake and auditory, nothing that was her voice or could be kind of comprehended, but there was communication in some extent. I spent kind of 6 months with her. Now, prior to that, I don't want to say I diagnosed her, but unfortunately I did. So I managed to kind of get hold of an MRI with her. But she had an incident where she fainted, and just from all of the recognition from everyone around her, like I was like, there's something neurological going on here. And unfortunately, doctors are retards, and they all thought it was cardiovascular. And I was like, this is not cardiovascular. This is neurological. Think of the symptoms. Eventually, they ended up getting her MRI, which no one looked at for about a week. But I did look at it kind of a day later, and I diagnosed her with this tumor that was sitting there in her occipital lobe. So that was rough in terms of having to go through that. But prior to this, I'd kind of just come home when this incident happened, and I was bitching and moaning to her. I'd got off I had flown. I'd been on the road for about 6 months. So I hadn't been home in 6 months, and I was just traveling, competitions, clients, kind of doing what I do best in terms of that. And as you guys would know, like check-in softwares and having a stable internet connection is kind of like the key factor. And unfortunately, with the travels, the software that I was using, the big blue one that has like an L and an M in it, like was just failing all the fucking time. Right? And it's the most frustrating thing in the world, where we've taken the software that was built for meetings and tried to adapt it to our coaching, and it just wasn't working, wasn't doing what we needed to. And I kept kind of having this like this inclining of like, there's got to be something. Like, fuck it, I got to do something. I got to do something in terms of this. I travel all the time. Like, why can't this thing work offline? Why can't this thing work on an internet connection? Like, it's fucking supposed to. And it didn't. And, I did this 20 hours of travel. I traveled from Melbourne to Thailand. I was in Thailand for 3 days, and then got the call about my mom. And I was supposed to go from Thailand. I was supposed to come back to Australia for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I went from Thailand straight to South Africa. It would end up being like a 20-hour trip. Landed, was trying to do a fucking check-in in the car, because I do check-ins in the car, like in between in Ubers all the time. That's a maximization of time, and it kept failing, and I was fucking raging. Like, I just had a 20-hour flight. It sucked. Coming home to my mom who's not well, and like I'm going to this. Surprise her at the door. We have a cup of tea, and now I'm trying to do this fucking check-in. I'm bitching and moaning. And as kind of per your statement at the very beginning, Emmett, my mom turned around to me and she said to me, she's like, what have I always told you? I was like, what? And she's like, if you complain about something more than 2 times, come up with a solution or shut the fuck up. And I literally just like looked at her, and I was like, sick, cool. All right, and like I had planned to go and see, like, surprise my one mate. His name's Garrick. One of the other founders within Trellis now. I went to him, and his company and the company he's part of specializes in IT solutions. And I literally, we were talking shit, and I was fucking bitching and moaning to him. I was like, bro, can you make this? And he's like, yeah, let's go have a chat to like the head dev guy. And I was like, cool. And I was like, Benny, this is it. This is what I want. And he's like, right, let me have a look at it. And fucking 6 hours later, dude sends me a message. He's like, are you serious about this? And I was like, yes. He's like, let's do it. And we started. That was July last year, July 2025. We started building it. We built it for 2 months. And Benny turned around and was like, I fucking hate it. I'm rebuilding everything. And I was like, fuck, dude. All right, cool. Yeah, you go wild. So like it delayed it slightly, and he started building it. And we just made this thing better and better and better. And, part of the big things that I was doing at the time, I was always trying to maximize on efficiency, maximize on communication, maximize on what we do in the business. At the time, I was doing my check-in. I would then take the transcript from the check-in. I'd copy it. I'd made like a template within ChatGPT, and ChatGPT had this template. And what I'd done is I'd said, I created this massive fucking prompt, and it's like, I'm going to paste this transcript in, and what I want you to do is summarize this and create this and blah, 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 blah. I do, it would be an extra 5 minutes of my life on every check-in, which, doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're doing 70 to 100 clients, like 5 minutes is a fuckloads. You're working through a significant amount of time. There's an extra 50 minutes plus type scenario. There's an extra hour within the day of copy and paste. Right, so we designed Trellis and we started and we built out from the very, very beginning of like, what do we want this thing to do? Right? What does it have to do? What is, like, as a coach, what are the things that I fucking need this thing to 100% tick the box and make sure it does? Right? The summary, the action notes, all that. Like, I sat there and I was like, communication, number one. That's it. That's the thing at the end of the day. We have check-ins. You do 20-minute check-in. I want a client to be able to quickly pick up on the points that are the most important things without, and key factor of that, without missing anything. Right? So like our AI software within Trellis is insane. Right? Like it, and like I'm not just saying that, like it's insane in terms of what we've done. Like we programmed it and we've taught it and we've given it information after information after information of like medical terminology, how to say things correctly in terms of, like if you use Trellis and you guys boys have, like you'll see that AI is like, it's fucking accurate. Like it doesn't mess up in regards to that. Like it is on point for a reason. And we spent a shit ton of money on it, to be honest. But that was like a non-negotiable for me. How many times you put a ChatGPT prompt in and like it gives you the summary, like, what the fuck are you saying? Like I remember trying to get it to like say scapular humeral rhythm, and it came up with like the weirdest thing. I was like, what is that? Like that is not even a medical term. So, anyways, big communication factor was that, and then reliability. I think was the number one off the back end of the communication, reliability, which matters. Again, like I said, how many times have we had like a Loom check-in fucking that goes up and like you do it, you crush it, and it's like loading and you like carry on doing your other stuff and you send the link off to your client and your client's like, I can't see it. And you're like, what do you mean? And like that thing hasn't loaded, it hasn't uploaded. It's like, to me, that is the death of you as a coach, because your time, you either have to redo this thing now or you have to go and try and figure out what's going on, or like your client doesn't get their check-in in their time. Like the number one thing I wanted was this reliability on the service, right? And off the back end of that, it was, how do we make this reliable? Okay, well, we started with, and also don't open a tech company, boys. Whatever you do, fuck me, it will make you lose 10 years of your life in stress. It's like the first thing that we wanted to do was we do live sync uploads. So if you use the Chrome extension, and the app does this as well, but when we started with the Chrome extension, what would happen is as you start recording, it starts uploading. So it immediately uploads to the system. So you can be guaranteed, and you still can be guaranteed on the Chrome extension, depending on the internet use, which I'll kind of put that caveat. You can be guaranteed that there will be a time period, and it's a 15-second time period, right? That is the worst case scenario that you would lose on a Chrome extension upload on a stable upload speed, is that for every 15 seconds these chunks are saved. Right, so if you did a 5-minute check-in and say, God forbid, something went wrong, 4 minutes 45 seconds would be there, which like in my head was like, okay, that's better than losing the whole thing. In my opinion, it's not good enough, but it's better than that. Right? And then we hit this unique issue, and I say unique because Australia is fucking shit. Right, so we launch, we go out with this Chrome extension, which was also an absolute nightmare to get approved, because there's only one other screen recording software out there that has a Chrome extension, and you can't like knock on their door and be like, hey, how did you guys do this? Right, clearly, because you can imagine, they can reply to my email and be like, oh, this is exact. So anyways, we had to figure that one out and get approved by Google, which took absolutely forever. And then the worst case behind it was we'd have the Chrome extension, and then we'd find a bug, or we'd find an issue with it, or Google would do an update. So Google Chrome would do an update, and it would break the fucking extension. Now here's the problem: you have to submit every single time for an update that you create. So we'd patch the problem and you'd have to submit to Google for a review. Now, because it's a screen recording software and because all of your private information can be seen via the software, someone has to manually go through the script and approve it. Now, that takes 5 to 7 days. All right, so every bug that we find or every issue that happens because for whatever reason, Google changes some fucking stupid algorithm on their Chrome update, I would then have to sit there for 5 to 7 days praying that people weren't going to lose their fucking mind over something happening out of my control, waiting for this update to come through. And now a big problem is, as much as Australia is like, a developed country, its infrastructure isn't. Right? So the internet is built off of copper. NBN is copper. Now, copper has a notorious shit upload, an inconsistent upload. So what would happen is our software that we designed had these fail-safes in that when upload speeds went erratic, so went too high or too low. So imagine driving a golf cart and like putting your foot flat on the fucking pedal and then back and then flat, like you'd be doing the stop and start. The software would recognize that as a problem, and then it would shut down the fucking recording. So it was a nightmare. So anyways, the app was like, well, I'm building the fucking app. And we built this app which should take you like 3 months to do in like 2 weeks. Right? And we managed to launch this thing out, and the app was kind of like the fail-safe and the next iteration and the next kind of like step of, okay, cool, like you can record offline. You can do everything you need to do without internet. You can do all that. And now the stable... And the company has been stable for 4 to 6 weeks, and we stabilized, we made sure, and now we've got all these updates coming out. We've got bigger bubbles, we've got better operatings on the back end, we've got a whole bunch of cool things coming with Trellis. But at the end of the day, the whole idea behind this is to give coaches something to be able to provide their service at a better level. That's it. That's all I want. This company was not and is not about money. I don't care about money. What I care about is raising the standard within the industry. And then part of that is making sure that coaches can provide better communication. But that's it. At the end of the day, we can't do anything with our service without being able to respond to someone, without getting our point across better, without getting our check-in better, without getting our feedback better. Like if that is not optimized, you have a subpar service. That's the goal, because then we get better results. And better results means you have a better business, or better results means that like you actually have this power. And I think, inherently when I really look back at where all of this mindset kind of comes from, is I was sitting in that fucking hospital bed with my leg pretty much half chopped off type scenario, the femur chopped off and this new fucking thing in. And I sat there and I was like, I had no one. I didn't have a coach that knew what was doing. I didn't have a physio team that didn't know what was doing. I had no one. And I'm not saying that's part of your job necessarily. Like, it's out of your scope as coaches to do this. But like, all I wanted was just someone to be like, hey, like, are you good? Like, I had no one necessarily ask that. Now, I look back and I go, our job now is to be able to provide a service of checking in on someone, making sure that they're okay. Providing a service that I wanted back then. I didn't need someone to fucking fix me. I just needed someone to be like, hey, you good? That's it.
Yeah,
that's all I want.
An emotional standpoint.
From an emotional standpoint. And that man's... Yeah, it may sound fucking soppy and shit like that, but generally that's what it is. It's caring. It's like this industry, we work with people. So give a fuck about people and find ways to provide value to people. Find ways to communicate better to people. Like, I make many a comment of this, I've used it before, like, my purpose or my thought process behind, like, training should be strength, right? Because it's in the name. Strength training. You should be obtaining strength. That's kind of it. My second one of this is, like, you're doing personal training. Remember, there's a person that you're working with. It's the people business. Right? So, like, it's funny how, like, the name gives you the answer. Stop fucking jumping over the name. Like, remember that, and remember to do those things.
Yeah, I always say that human emotion is the one thing we just cannot dictate. As much as you think you've got the perfect plan, program, like anything that you have put together as a coach, and like you're saying as well, delivery is a massive one. Like, if you can't deliver it to them, also if you can't understand human emotion at a very basic level, you're lost.
You're going to have a problem.
And a massive one you actually said there as well. Like, again, you could have the perfect everything in the background, but they use Amazon as an example. Like, they have the same shit as everyone else, but their delivery is twice as fast, twice as good.
Yep. And that's that's what's going to separate you from the other person. How fast can you deliver all of these things, all these characteristics of training program, nutrition, empathy, your personality, like all of those things? Can you provide that in the most efficient manner? Yes. Cool. You're gonna do good. You'll be fine. You're gonna make the impact. You're winning. Yeah.
James, I believe Emmett might have a couple more questions here because he was quite organised for this one. Go for it, Emmett.
Yeah, this one might be a long one. I got all the time in the world, as long as I'm not boring you fucking guys. Apologies. Yeah. As I said, I talk a lot. If you feel wild to clip this out or make this a 3-part series of... your listeners probably won't want that, but go wild.
Nah, fuck it.
Nah, with Trellis, and I'm using Trellis, it's very good, I must say.
Is that one you said was shit?
No.
Yeah. All feedback is welcome. Fuck.
But I understand that like a big part of that was obviously you had your own issues with the other software too, and you wanted to go out and find a solution. But I think the crux of it is they actually raise the industry standards, which you spoke about. Another thing I kind of wanted to ask, obviously you're doing that with being an educator as well, and I just kind of, in terms of coaches in general, is there anything you see and educating other coaches within the industry that you see as like the main bottlenecks within the industry, or even things you come across within the industry, whether it be on social media?
Boys, I'm still listening. I'm running for a piss.
No, go for it.
2 seconds.
Look, so I'll answer maybe in like a twofold. So the first thing that I genuinely find an issue, for lack of a better word, or like the bottleneck of the problem that is the inability for individuals to conceptualize that at the end of the day, all exercise comes down to some form of principle manner. That is it. All right? It's being able to identify principles at play. Right? And when you can do that, you very easily work out from, so unfortunately, social media. Fortunately, so look, myself and you, we wouldn't be having this conversation if social media wasn't around. And that's why I'm very big on making sure that we don't just shit on something. Right? And I think that's an important part. However, we have social media. We have all these fucking random exercises and bullshit that comes out, and even to a certain degree, interpretations of studies and all these things kind of plague the industry. Your ability to look at an exercise, and I apologize for the redundancy in part of the conversation here, but look at the exercise and ask yourself the question of, why does this matter? Why does this matter? What is this exercise doing? What is its foundational goal? The principle. What is its principle at play? Because when you start to do that, and when you start to break that level of things down, and you start to take away all the fluff or all the exercise, you'll realize that it's just another stupid variation of the thing that you're probably doing already. Right? And that I find when I say like the bottleneck is a lot of the issue is we have this like shiny object syndrome. We have this like very, very much kind of in front of us. This looks cool. This looks like it's the thing to do. And if you can just appraise the exercise and categorize it and bring it down and have this critical thought process of where does this sit from a principle base, you're going to realize like it's just bullshit. It doesn't do anything special. Right? I make many comments within the education side, and when we teach and we go through coursework, like I use, honestly, at a push, I have an index of exercises within our scope right now, not necessarily, more like very athlete-based, 25 exercises. That's it. I have a pool of 25 exercises that I work from for every client all the time. Right? It shouldn't be more than that. And it isn't when you understand the principle at play, when you understand and you can appraise and look at resistance profiles. So you could look at exercise, like the strength curve of an exercise, and you can match all these things together. You start to exclude a lot more things than you include a lot more things. And like the perfect program is a lot of the times the one that has excluded a lot of the things. Right, because then you can actually do the things that are play. So the bottleneck is the inability for that critical thinking and the asking of the questions, or breaking down an exercise down to principles. Now that's not just an exercise. That comes down to nutrition. That comes down to partly decision making. Like for some reason, we apply certain rules to certain things, but not to other things. And you sit there going like, but why? Like I don't understand. It's the same fucking thing, guys. Do the thing. You just remember it's just, I feel like it's the way it's dressed up, right? It's the red dress, kind of the girl in the red dress. Sometimes that new thing comes through and like you kind of want to like takes your attention and you watch it and that it's like, hold on, just keep looking forward and you'll be fine. It's actually the same thing. So that's definitely like one of the first things. And again, twofold: principles, asking questions, critical thinking. That would be kind of a big one, I think. The second to this is experience yourself. And it might sound like a bit of a cop-out, but I honestly think like the skin in the game scenario is very important, right? For me, when I'm teaching individuals, and especially when we get in person and even clientele to a certain degree, like I can tell a lot by an individual when I train with them. When I get a training session in with someone, like it tells me everything I need to know about you, from like your personality to what you're going to do, like how you do one thing is how you do everything, like the actions over the words. Sorry, like that training session tells me a lot, right? Which, I don't mean that in a bad way, but it really does separate like the men from the boys. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I literally mean that in like, how much do you fucking give a shit about this thing? How much do you care about this? And it's a very important part of like, if you don't do the thing, don't pretend to do the thing. Do the thing. I think that's a very, very important part of that, just from like the education side.
That's a good point. It's actually been a massive part of I'd say my journey in coaching across the years, of like being like, if I want to coach bodybuilders, I need to bodybuild. I want to coach. I'm currently coaching fighters. I've got a fight coming up in the next month. Like, sick. I'm going to make sure that I walk the walk, and if I get a bit of brain damage on the way, it is what it is.
Yeah, fuck. Being punched in the face never hurt anyone. Like I've done it many times. Like I have like this. Yeah, dude. I have this little like joke that I reckon that like men, boys, at 18, like two things should happen. You should be punched in the face, and you should be able to punch someone in the face. Right? At your 18th birthday, like that's what happens, right? And like you're gonna realize two things. One, it sucks to be punched in the face. Like it's like you're Irish, 100%. You guys have been punched in the face, right? You're not the soft generation that seems to be kind of up now. But like being punched in the face sucks. Like we can all agree on that. Like no fucking heroes ego shit yet. It sucks. Punching someone in the face also sucks. Right, so it's kind of like when you have that, if you were 18 and that thing happened, I generally feel like we'd have way less fucking stupid shit going on in the world. Or like, 18-year-old kids running their mouth and fucking no consequences on things. Like, because being punched in the face sucks. And like having to defend yourself because you punch someone in the face sucks. So just don't fucking do it. That's if I ever become like a governor or a president, like that's the law I'm bringing in. 18-year-old man, that door's going to open as your 18th birthday, drilled in the face. Like you can get back up and then you get to hit the dude. That's it. That's the rules. That's the fucking rules.
I think you can tell who hasn't been punched in the face, can't you?
Oh, 100%. Always. They just don't understand what a consequence is. They'll run their mouth and you'll be like, yo, you clearly have never had a consequence to what you're saying.
I can't wait to see the next pre-script fucking seminar. It's like, alright, everyone stand up.
No, we don't advocate for violence. No advocation of violence. Oh, fuck.
It's not violence, it's the understanding of consequences. I think that's a much better way to put it.
Yeah, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Like, that's how it should be, Yeah.
James, something you said there as well about like you have a pool of exercises, and I know you work with maybe a range of different individuals. Like you have like the 6-year-old client who is doing pendlay rows. You have competitive bodybuilders, and you have probably other athletes in terms of powerlifting, things like that. Would obviously program design, there's going to be a level of specificity there, but would you say you find yourself still prescribing the same pool of exercises to different sort of clientele with different goals?
Yeah. I don't think like the pool of exercises stays, and the pool of exercise stays there because the principle remains the same. And that's the big thing that I go down to is like when you look at exercises from the principle base and like the mechanical base of what they're doing, it doesn't change from the individual in front of you, right? And now you utilize slightly maybe different load abilities or the medium in which, and a great example in this example, I will take Tessa, 60-year-old, she's doing a little bit more Olympic weightlifting, she's just a pen layer, she does these things, and we'll take like a powerlifter. Right, at the end of the day, like they're both going to squat. Right, they both do their squats, they both do that. Reps and sets will be different, load management in terms of the requirement will be different. One's going to low bar, actually Tessa low bars as well, she does quite well in terms of low bar. Both doing low bar squats. Right, now, the difference off the back end of this is when I give my supplemental work, and I think this is the concept of when we start looking at program design and exercise selection, I have a main focus outcome of what my A1 is. Right, my main focus outcome is generally and should generally, and I'll put a slight caveat to this because of I don't want to say a rule, but maybe a principle that I apply, is your A1 or your most loadable exercise is there for that reason, to drive as much mechanical tension as we can. Right? At the end of the day, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's fucking powerlifting, whether it's Olympic weightlifting to a certain degree, like A1 or the most loadable thing is there for the reason, from a hypertrophy standpoint, mechanical tension. Fantastic. Let's drive the shit out of that. Now, my powerlifter and Tessa, they're both squatting on the day. A1 is the squat, A1 is the mechanical tension. There's a force output there from strength element. Fantastic, cool. My supplemental work is where things start to change, right? Because I have two different individuals in front of me. I have two different load management orientations. I have two different load management or fatigue management techniques that need to be applied. Tessa is 60 years old. Powerlifter is 25 years old. Recoverability score is very different. Right, movement plane is very different. The way in which they execute in their everyday life is very different. Right, so powerlifter, I'm going to look at him. He's got a low bar squat. So low bar squat, we're going to have slightly more, and I hate this kind of concept, but like slightly more maybe like hip extension, glute focus kind of coming through in that, just because of the way that we are going to be from a torso angle. And it's not glute focus because I'm trying to fucking target the glutes. If I was trying to target the glutes, I would fucking do a glute isolation exercise. Right? I hate it when people are like, I'm doing a glute focus squat. Like, you're not doing a fucking glute focus squat, you're doing a squat. Because the squat moves, because a squat, the pelvis moves vertically. That is it. That's the defining term of the fucking squat. Right? So when I'm doing this, my secondary or my supplemental work that's going to come into the mix here is going to be, all right, where are we within our program design? Are we in season, out of season? Are we close to comp? Are we peaking? What are we doing? All right, we're in off season. Fantastic. I'm taking the opportunity within this off season to work on the things that I know that are going to go wrong as we get closer to higher loads. Right? Well, what do we need out of the squat? Like, what is the thing that I require to actually do the low bar squat? Well, I need to have the ability to express internal rotation. I need to have the ability to get some form of extension of the glutes at the bottom of the hole to make sure this works. Okay, cool, fantastic. Now, from a load management standpoint, what is that secondary exercise going to be? Is it going to be a leg press? Probably not. Why would I use the fucking leg press? Right? Is it going to be a walking lunge? Could be a very good kind of way to do this. Or maybe not, depending on their ability to run things. Maybe from a progression or regression standpoint, we go into some form of split squat. Okay, cool. We're going to run some form of split squat. Now, do I pick a front foot elevated? Do I pick a Bulgarian? Do I pick stationary? How do I load it? Do I load it bilaterally? Do I load it contralateral? Do I go ipsilateral? All of those determining factors come off of the back end of what is the goal of that primary exercise. All right, and where are we within the plane of this? All right, I need more internal rotation in this concept. Great, I'm probably going to go contralateral. Contralateral is going to pull me into a more internally rotated position of the femur. It's going to allow me to express that force a bit better. I'm load managed because I have one fucking dumbbell, not two. Like, that's as simple as that one kind of comes down to. And then I can ask the question of, like, well, where are they in a center of mass displacement? Is this an individual that tends to have more kind of lower back pain? Like, they tend to carry themselves more forward. What is their structure like? What do they have from a rib cage? Are they a little bit more overweight? Do they have a bit of like a typical powerlifter? All of these things come into play, because then when I do that secondary work, I go, am I going to go split squat, or am I going to go front foot elevation split squat? And like, I'll go front foot elevation split squat. I think it's dramatically underused. But I'm not using a front foot elevation because someone needs ankle mobility, right? Like, elevating the front foot doesn't magically give you ankle mobility, right? And it's the same concept of, like, when you elevate the heel, you don't magically get a new ankle. I hate this fucking concept of, you elevate your heels and now my ankle mobility, my squat mobility is better. It's like, how? You didn't change the joint.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, I get this more range. It's like, okay, but you're not asking the question why. What changes when that happens? Well, my center of mass changes. Right? As soon as I elevate the heel, I deviate my center of mass further back. Okay, by doing that, what happens? Well, the talus then actually moves correctly and allows the shin to move forward. Right? So, like, all that I do when I elevate my heel is I give myself a center of mass displacement, which is why I can get deeper on my squat. It's got fuck all to do with the fact that, like, I've magically given myself mobility. It's not that. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with the center of mass displacement. Now, here's the concern. If you do not understand center of mass and you do not understand how you can program effectively around that, you're going to land up putting someone in the same position all the time. Now, let's take that concept of, if I put someone in the same position all the time, what happens? Right, I overuse it. All right, what lands up happening is I have a misuse that occurs. Right, so if I'm always, and it's kind of conceptualize this a little bit. Like, Emmett, imagine if, like, all of your back exercises were just short and range. Everything was short and range. I never touched mid range. I never touched fucking lengthened. Like, how much of an issue are we going to land up running into? Massively, right? Because, like, yeah, we got to train full range challenge. We got to understand, like, but there's benefits to this. There's the scap that moves around the rib cage if it was back specific. I'm going to go into more lengthened position. I'm going to get some form of, origin to insertion of the lat, maybe a degree of flexion, blah, 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 blah. There's benefits to all of these things, right? Same concept needs to apply when we pick exercises correctly. If I'm just fucking running my head into the wall all the time because I'm pushing someone's center of mass forward, because I'm low bar squatting them, bilateral Bulgarian squat, and then putting them on a leg press, it's like, it's the same fucking thing for 3 times, right? Instead of just, like, understanding how to deviate 1 or 2 of these exercises and benefit or supplemental work increases the primary work. Like, that's why it's called supplement. It's to supplement your main goal, your main objective of the primary function, right? So, powerlifter, low bar squat, front foot elevated, contralateral squat, maybe lying leg curls, hamstrings, cool, maybe something along those lines, fantastic. All right, Tessa, low bar squat. Now, here's the beauty of what I've just kind of said. Tessa, low bar squat, she's getting older. Respectfully, if Tessa, you watch this, you're not getting old. But, like, Tessa's getting older. Okay, what do we see with old people? What do we see happens with old people? Like, from a postural standpoint, what happens? Lack of mobility, yeah, cool. What happens posturally? Do they stand more upright, or do they start fucking losing the gravity battle? Most old people, like, they're like, you got your, like, granny, and she's kind of like hobbles to you, and she's fucking bent over. Like, what does this change? What has changed in this scenario? Well, her center of mass has changed. Right? Her center of mass has changed because literally where her center of mass is, because she's losing her fight to gravity. Her muscles cannot keep her rigid. So gravity always fucking wins. It's the main principle at play here. So it's always going to keep doing this. Right. So here's my question to you. Right. If I put her in a low bar squat, I understand her as an individual. I understand gravity. I understand the principle. Do I give her something that pushes her forward again? Or would it be really beneficial for her to do things that go back? Probably back. Right. Now here's the question. Did I not do the same thing with the powerlifter? Yes. Right. And this is the thing, you look at two different athletes, two different people, 60-year-old Tessa, 23-year-old powerlifter, it's the same thing. So, sorry, that was a fucking 20-minute thing of like, hey, Emmett, it's the same question. It's the same pool of exercises, right? It's just the understanding of how this is being applied to the principle, the individual in front of us. Now, there's time periods where you don't do the gravity thing and you push in, because when we have center of mass that moves slightly forward, we displace that more over midfoot, right? And displacement of midfoot to kind of like toes to a certain degree is what force expression, right? So if I wanted to, drive up, apparently, if I wanted to drive up force expression and get this going a little bit more, it's like there could be a time period to do that. But again, you need to understand that you are flying close to the sun, right? So if you're flying close to the sun, that's fine. But remember, like, the glue starts fucking melting, right? So you got to know how to fix that. You got to know what you're going to do. You got to know your time period. Right? And this is, I mentioned this very, very much at the beginning. Risk assessment is what we do. So it's like, you can take people in and out of these ranges, but remember, like, how long? How are you going to fix it? What are you going to do off the back end? How are you going to bring this all in? And that's the cool part about coaching. That's like the autism that comes out. Because then you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I see everything. You can play in all realms.
James, obviously, with these principles remaining the same, there's a level of the client's execution as well as important.
100%, yeah.
Is that something that you would hone in on within your coaching and wanting to actually see how individuals are performing those exercises and getting them to send you it over a certain period of time?
Yeah, so one of the things I do, and I dramatically encourage, especially new clients, like your first 6 to 10 weeks, the minimum is the first set and last set of every exercise that I give you gets sent to me. First set and last set. Why? Because then I can understand execution. I can understand deterioration from set 1 to set 3, or whatever it is in terms of that. What is the follow-up sets? What is the down period that happens with this? Gives me a lot more information than just execution. I can start looking at this of nutrient partitioning. Do we have enough sodium, potassium in the mix? Are we seeing a dramatic decrease from set 1 to set 3? Like, what is the percentage change? What is my outcome? What is the execution? Blah, 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 blah. Like, that exercise feedback is not just exercise feedback. It's systems that play feedback. So how are you performing it? Do we have the energy requirement in place in terms of these things? And I think that's an underutilized way of looking at it. A lot of times we'll look at the data, or we'll look at like set 1 and set 3 of their training program, and maybe they did 10 reps at 100 kilograms, and set 2 or set 3 they do 9 reps, and we're like, oh, that's normal, that's fine. It's like, but go and watch the video. What was the difference? Was there a difference? Was it the same 9 reps? Correct. And I think that's like where training footage becomes super important. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, training footage is dramatically important. And again, this is why from just a reply standpoint, but Trellis comes into the mix of like, how much faster can I provide feedback? How much faster can I provide execution in terms of these things? How can I do all that? So yes, training feedback, hugely important.
It turns out as well that Irishmen are very bad at holding their bladder.
Go for it. What you guys forget is like, I'm also really good at the teaching thing. So like, I'll teach 6 hours back to back. It's like, I've got really good at holding my fucking bladder. Like, really, really good at that. That's all good.
Yeah.
So you say you got
really
a fight?
Interesting.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I started training Muay Thai fighters probably around 3 years ago, just sort of helping a friend out. And of course, like, there was only so much of like applicable knowledge that I had. I was like, okay, well, I'll go learn more. Yep. But then, they're coming in on like so I own a small group gym as well as doing online coaching. So I had those guys coming in, and you're like, okay, I've got the perfect program, like front foot elevated split squat, like, let's go. And they're like, my toes are sore. I'm like, what do you mean your fucking toes are sore? Like, just do the split squat.
From kicking
so then I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, I literally need to go experience this, because I can't just keep expecting them to do things, and then I'm coming in going, oh my god, my fucking toes are purple. I can't put pressure through them at all. Like, I can't be programming these things in.
Yeah, it was. So I used to train, and at the gym that we had quite a lot of like MMA fighters. You remember Dricus? Do you know Dricus from UFC? Dricus Duplessis?
Yeah, I do know the name.
One of the Dricus. Yeah, Dricus is SA's best fucking UFC fighter. The Dricus, he used to train at our gym quite a lot, and like you start to realize when you train fighters, like it's a different ball game because and it's not just a different ball game from the standpoint of injuries or like these things that hurt, but you've got many things at play. So one, you're in a strength sport that forces an energy system that is very different. So like you've obviously gone through rounds in terms of that, but you go through grappling rounds, like 3 by 10 minute rounds, like in terms of conditioning work or like on a technique day or whatever it is. Like that's a fuck ton of an energy system that comes in. Now off the back end of that, what you have to understand when you bring strength training into the mix, what happens when we strength train generally? Right, we start putting on weight. We get stronger, but we start putting on weight because hypertrophy becomes kind of this byproduct of what it is. Now, they're in a weight sport. It's like you have to be so careful with regards to these things because you start putting them into strength training and they get too heavy. And now you're like, fuck. Well, now we got a bit of a problem off the back end. And the problem is they get too heavy and they're under-eating usually. Right? They're not eating the required amount of nutrients, not even nutrients, calories. And then we talk about nutrients off the back end because like they're doing 2 or 3 fucking sparring sessions a day, maybe like 5 days a week in terms of if you're lucky. Now you're going to add a strength session on the top end. You're like, yo, where the fuck are you getting this energy from? Like, and most of them are. Like there is this nutrition deficiency that comes into the mix here. And then let's add the last kind of layer into the mix. Like they'll go through like a water cut. And now you've got like all the other things. So it's just, fighters is one of the, like I've worked with a lot of fighters and it's not one that I like working with because it's just fucking so complex in many ways. But yes,
I absolutely love it transitioning from bodybuilding. But like you said, 100%. I was like, I'm a bodybuilder. Like I've got muscle. I'm pretty strong. I know what I'm doing. Nope. Transition over, I was like, oh my god, like this is so complex. Like you said, like you've got those multiple assets and layers of, like even fueling them's completely different. Like completely like, especially trying to keep someone in a deficit too. If they're trying to cut weight, they're like, okay, well, you know what? As much as I want to feed them more protein because it's going to be more beneficial for more muscle, do they need more muscle? And it's like, would it be better with the carbohydrates because they're going to have like more
burning through
explosive session? Yeah. Like it is, and I think, like you said there, it comes down to the fact that they almost don't react off of what you're giving them. They just want to fight. Like, they want to work. And it's amazing. That was a completely different psychological change for me of being, like, trying to force people into the gym. Now it's like, they want to be there. They want to work hard. And they don't fucking complain because they're not getting punched in the face. They're like, I actually enjoy this part of the week.
Yeah.
This is the easy part.
The harder part behind it as well is you're not doing the sport. And like coming from the bodybuilding side into this is the hard part behind this because like at the end of the day, the sport of bodybuilding is posing. Okay, that's it. If we really kind of black and white this down, the posing is the sport. Right now, the training is the thing that then brings up your ability to then do the sport better. Right, the physique gets better, we can pose it better, etc., from that. Like fighting or any other actual sport, again, apologies, but not like any other actual sport. It's like doing the thing is the sport, right? The training, it needs to be the supplemental to that. It's this concept of being sports specific in training. It's like you're not going to be sports specific because being sports specific is doing the fucking sports. Like the sports specific aspect of this is understanding what is required within the sport. How do I improve that side of it? Right? Fighters are incredibly difficult because they're multi-layer in what they're doing. The energy system play is different. They're not working in frontal plane fucking anything. Right? They're all over the place. They're Muay Thai is slightly different. There's rotation in there. There's flexibility. There's the ability to express strength and output and velocity, and at the same time, while the cardiovascular system is you're just like, holy fuck. Right, so imagine if you looked at that, and this is the second thing, but imagine if you looked at that and you're like, all right, I have to take every characteristic of the sport and train it. It's like, yo, you're going to go wrong completely, because you're also going to go. So you've got to, you look at the individual, you look at currently what they're doing, and you go, okay, well, how do I add 1% to this to slightly make them better? And sometimes, sometimes what I had to do with like these fighters is we would do a strength session that was not a strength session. And do you know what it was? It was 60 minutes of them having a dynamic recovery day, because they're doing 10 sessions a week anyways. If you're grappling 2 to 3 times a week, 5 to 7 days a week, fucking that body is cooked. Right? So the strength session that we would do would be like dynamic or some form of active recovery in this nature. That they'd come in and do the strength work, which wasn't strength work because we weren't working maximal. We weren't working anywhere near what it was. But do you know what it was? It was an hour where we could talk shit and they weren't being punched in the face.
Yeah. It's almost like the idea of I understand nowadays why this is, but whenever I first I actually did the pre-script intensive in Rotherham. Yep. And a big thing that I heard for the first time was like that like sports massage was fluff. I was like, it's the biggest old shit. And I was like, why? And I started to look into it. I was like, it's actually more beneficial at the fact that it's an hour of them doing fuck all, especially for people that are highly stressed.
Yeah, like I prescribe like sauna work and ice baths, and like, look, they're not amazing for hypertrophy, and they're not amazing in terms of like recovery. And the thing they're amazing with is you are not on your phone for 45 minutes to an hour, and you sit the fuck down and you don't do anything else. That's it. It's the best part about it. You turn your brain off for an hour.
Yeah. Unless you get the people that bring their phone in with them and defeat the purpose almost.
I can't. Just go away.
I love the odd Joe Rogan podcast in the sauna, but you clearly haven't put it on the Joe Rogan podcast. You got like four fellas telling you about health and fitness, and you're like, fucking, you don't want to correct them. You're like, I just want to sit here and chill out. Like, I'm telling you, lads, like, the sea moss, it's the best thing for you. I'm like, fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Dude, everyone gives me sea moss, I'm immediately throwing it at them. Like, why? Why would I do that? Why would I fucking do that? Yeah.
But also, to jump in and add another layer to what you said, the enhanced games, the swimmers actually realised that having more muscle wasn't beneficial because they were sinking in the pool.
Yeah, like that's a thing. Look, I mean, I have my maybe controversial, but not at the same time, opinion on that entire thing. Whoever thought that it was going to just work was not bright from a few things. One, there were constraints to this, and let's be mindful. All of the enhancements that could come through were FDA approved, which is fine. Look, at the end of the day, there's some things there that would work. There's also some things that wouldn't work. There's also like a concept that I'll find hilarious. Like, I know of a few individuals who help with the drug side of the actual people who go to the Olympics. Okay? Mm-hmm. None of those people were on the panel or part of the enhanced games. And they weren't for a reason, right? Because they're also doing things that would not be FDA approved or legal, and like they're not going to be. Now, if we had those people coming, maybe a different story, right? Because the problem is when the drugs entered the chat in terms of this, the drugs entered the chat of a person. They didn't enter the chat in the understanding of like, what is the energy systems and what are we attempting to do out of the sport? Like when you ask that question, you start assigning drugs to what we are trying to do or the outcome of the sport. Different scenario, like very, very different scenario that comes into play, right? Swimmers don't need more muscle mass, right? So like jacking the dude's testosterone up to 1200 nanograms, like cool, like he might have felt better, but him putting on a mass amount of size probably wasn't the best thing in the world for what they're attempting to do. Now, on the flip side of that, understanding that if we did give him some form of TRT and maybe just kept his levels up to a certain degree, that he would be recovering better, and we brought other drugs in play that would actually benefit. Fantastic. We start looking at How do we look at cardiovascular work? What drugs do we have or systems that could come in there? We've all heard of injectable L-carnitine. Injectable L-carnitine, not a banned substance. Very good at metabolization of energy, helps with the conversion, helps with lipolysis to a certain degree. Probably would have been a good drug for them to be on. Were that? No. So, like, there's so many things that play here, and I mentioned, one, and I'm a big fan and a big believer of this, and, it's not a drug, but it is if you utilize it correctly. I mentioned in the very beginning when we spoke about, like, the Krebs cycle. Right? Do you want to know how beneficial and the impact you can make to a physique and an endurance and a sport if you know how to supplement B vitamins correctly? Right? Because B vitamins do everything for us. They're one of our massive energy drivers within. They are the massive energy driver in the system. They're involved in almost every process in the Krebs cycle. So in that time period where we take carbohydrates and even fats, right? When there's low carbohydrates present, we take fats and we convert it into ATP. Every process, there are B vitamins present, right? So, like, we asked the question why. Like, well, if I wanted to optimize someone, would it not be a really good idea to have the understanding of which B vitamins would work at certain parts in the system and how I could effectively dose this depending on what macros are in front of us or what time periods we're training, etc., and optimize? Yes. But, like, everyone wants to jump to the peptide or the NAD+, and, like, yo, guys, B vitamins. Fucking play with B vitamins.
They're medicating symptoms and not causes. Like, they're not actually getting to the foundation of it.
So we go back to that initial thing that I mentioned. It's like there's no one asking the question, like, why or how does this work? How does this work? Like, how many? When was the last time you thought about?
Good on a picture.
Yeah, exactly. When was the last time? And, like, I'll pose a question. When was the last time you guys asked yourself the question of, like, how do I, like, metabolize energy?
Yeah. Probably not very often.
Not very often.
Fair,
all right? And, like,
you've sent me on a rabbit hole of this B vitamin situation.
Yeah, dude, and it's such a simple hack, and such a, like, very minute. But it's this whole thing of, to quote Louis Simmons, like, we step over dollar bills to pick up pennies. Everyone wants to jump to, like, the best recovery hack and the best this, and I hate to be the old man yelling in the clouds, but it's like sleep, nutrition, understanding. Now, with the back end of that, if you maximize on those and you start playing with these other elements that honestly are legal, like, you're natural. If you're a natural bodybuilder and you're not playing around with B vitamins, yo, come on. Right, like, to the extent, if you mess around with, like, a B vitamin and, like, a CoQ10, which technically kind of falls into things, so coenzyme 10, like, you can give yourself almost anxiety with the amount of energy that you're going to produce. Like, if you fuck up that dosing, like, you will. If you take, like, 200 milligrams, like, in a pre-training setting, so, like, a CoQ10, a little fun fact. CoQ10, take, like, 100 milligrams pre-training with your carbohydrates, you will feel fantastic. Right? And now you do have to have a little bit more of an understanding of, like, how the bioavailability is with this drug, and I use it as in that word. It is a drug. Right? Supplements are drugs. When we characterize it in that, we start to understand it a little bit better. Like, CoQ10 generally has to be in a gel form or a soft gel form because it does better in terms of, like, fats. So if that is the case, when you take it, please just make sure you have some fats there, because that way it's actually going to be more bioavailable. It's going to be upregulated more. Same as, like, your D vitamin. Right? If you take D vitamin, and it's generally going to be upregulated better with some form of fats. If you just take it willy-nilly, like, you're going to land up not absorbing the most amount of the quantity that we can off the back end. And so we start playing around in these realms, and you start getting a bit more hyper-specific. You can add these things in. But again, all of this, what I'm saying, comes from a simple basic question of, like, how do we make energy? How does that process occur? You don't have to look. I genuinely believe that personal trainers should probably have a foundational element of the Krebs cycle. At least know when I say Krebs cycle, what the fuck that means. Like, that's hilarious when that doesn't come into play. But have that foundational element and just go and look at the different process. Go and look at each conversion, right? And look at what molecules and vitamins are utilized to actually do that. And then you could look at this and be like, all right, well, cool. Like, if there's B12 or CoQ10 in the mix in terms of, it's like, well, maybe it would be a good idea if I gave myself some there. If I upregulate that. And this is this asking yourself this question of to why things occur. And, like, what can I do to help that? And it opens up a very different rabbit hole, or kind of like, look, you boys may land up fucking going down a deep, deep rabbit hole of this now, but this is the point. Start asking yourself slightly better questions. And then you can kind of cross-pollinate a bit more off the back end.
Would you say that supplementation of those B vitamins is essential, or is there a certain amount you can actually just get from the
foods? So you could get a good chunk from diet itself. However, most people don't know how to eat correctly in terms of those things and set up diets correctly. You know, I made a story the other day, and actually Alex, who was on the podcast, me and him were talking about it, because he was like, even though it doesn't do this as an idiot, I set diets up from micronutrients first. Right, so like I'll build out a micronutrient profile first, and then bring your macronutrients on top of this to try and get to our goal of what we're attempting to do. Right, because that way I know your foundation is in place. Now, you know, when you start playing with this, you start realizing, and you have this like very scary realization, you know, bar the carbohydrate side to a certain degree, and I say that because some of the carbohydrates will help us with regards to kind of a potassium level, and yes, I consider potassium and sodium as part of this like micronutrient intake of what we're looking at. But when I set that diet up, like a minimal effective dose across the board of polyurethanes and fucking, you know, your nitrates and everything that comes into the mix, like you're looking at like, if I remember correctly, 13 to 1450 calories, roughly. Like that's your base foundation diet. And a lot of times, depending on the fat side of that, that's likely going to be at like, I don't know, 50 grams of fat in there to hit these minimum levels. Now, think of your current diets. And like think of diets that we've been to, if you've dieted and gone to extremes. Like 1,300 calories is not low. I've taken people lower, unfortunately, in my life. Right, but that's not low. Now, I'm saying that's the base foundation before I even add protein, before I add fucking carbohydrates, before I even were to try and maximize maybe a bit more on fats. Right, so when you build out a diet, if you have that base level stuff there, you are going to be better. However, as the name is, supplements, they're there to then supplement into the deficiencies that could come up. Now, we are going to have people who don't eat a large amount of foods or get the requirements off the back end of that. And like we can bring in the next argument of like soil quality is different, and that then changes the slightly different amount of actual nutrients and vitamins in the food, and this is why, like, shout out Luke Lehman, like I love the idea of a good multivitamin in every client's profile. Like everyone will be on a good multivitamin, no matter what. I don't care if we are getting your macronutrient or your micronutrient intake there. You're still going to be in a multivitamin to cover the base in terms of those things. And anyone who's like, oh, it's expensive piss, shut the fuck up. It's there for... Yeah. Unfortunately, it is a shotgun shell, but it's also like, it's a thought about shotgun shell. It's not just blasting it down the fucking corridor. It's a little bit more kind of precise in terms of these things. Because it's precise, because I'm still tracking all of my other micronutrient intake. How many times do we get people just... Correct. It's not the empty corridor. We get most people just like, take a multivitamin and then, get a handful of vegetables and fruit. It's like, yo, let's do more to this. So, I mean, to answer your question, I think the supplementation side is a requirement and is necessary. The in-depth specific supplementation, when we start looking like B vitamins and stuff, different scenario, because you do need to be a little bit more specific. We look at like B6, for example. B6 can be extremely toxic. Right, in high doses of pure B6, like you can start causing some neurodegeneration. You can cause some nerve function issues. You can cause some issues. Right now, again, you should ask yourself the question as to like, why does that happen? Right? That only happens as a byproduct of the conversion from B6 to P5P. Right? So that toxic trait of B6 is when we have the conversion process in the system from B6 to P5P. Now, we know if I just give someone P5P, I mitigate that issue at hand. Right? So, like, asking that question of, like, why does that toxicity occur allows me to go, well, if I'm going to then give someone B6, which will be super important from an energy standpoint and Krebs cycle and understanding carbohydrates, it's like, well, I'm just going to give them P5P because it's the bioactive variation of the B6, which mitigates any of that toxic issue, and then I can still get what I need from that understanding. Right, so, blanket statement, B vitamins very important, but you got to know what the fuck you're doing, otherwise you're going to cause some trouble.
Yeah, so even though you went down the route of trying to do better, you end up doing worse.
Yeah, you can land up supercharging the fucking Nissan, like the little Opel Corvette versus like supercharging a fucking Ferrari. Like if that engine can't handle it, you're kind of fucked. You're gonna blow the engine real fast. Like it's just adding NOS into a car that shouldn't take NOS is probably not a good idea.
I'm trying to think of the car that is the common one for everybody. I know that the Mark IV Golf.
The Mark IV Golf. So did you guys ever get the little city Golfs? You're old school, like the VW Golf, like the City Golf. That was like the South African car. Most stolen car in South Africa as well. But it was like the old school VW Golf, City Golf. You could pump that thing fucked up. You could tune it, but it was like low level, not an expensive car at all. But guys were trying to. If you put NOS into that thing, it would fucking explode in seconds.
Anything with like the 1.9 TDI engine was goated.
Oh. Yeah, dude, yeah. I think 1.9 was I think it was maybe a 1.7 engine, maybe. It was almost a lawnmower on a fucking chassis. Like that's what it was. Yeah, no, bad idea.
Oh, wherever fell. Emmett, how are you with questions? Have you many more?
Well, I'd say we're
a long way into it.
Yeah, I'd say I'd be remiss if we didn't get a bit of advice for coaches based off the value that you're able to offer with that, building a business, building trust, and standing out in the current industry.
So my advice to that is be yourself. Like, and what I mean by that is there's this common trend right now going on of like trying to be the marketer and do the adverts and do all these things. One of the things that I did well and intentionally, to be honest, not necessarily intentionally, more from like a values standpoint, just who I am. Like, remember, you are your brand. So like, do you and know who you are, I think is a very important part of that. Don't replicate someone else. Don't pretend to be someone else. Don't strive to be someone else. Be you, right? And showcase you in those instances. Now, part of that, unfortunately, and to not make it philosophical, but I find where people go wrong with this is they don't know who the fuck they are. So, like, they don't have a set of values. They've never really kind of sat down and thought about this inherently themselves. Like, you asked me what my values are. It's like integrity, honesty, and discipline. Like, that's it. 3 straight off the bat. I will say that fucking in my sleep. And I've known that for years. Right? And that's who I am. And that is what I strive to do every single day within my personal standpoint. And as a byproduct, my company, my brand, everything that I do within each one of these businesses. Right? Your business values and your personal values will always have some form of congruency between the two. They're supposed to be slightly different, but there will be a congruency between the two. Now, if you make every decision off the back end of those values in place, you will not go wrong. Right? You cannot go wrong. Right? If you make sure they have. But the problem is most people have never sat down and like audited their values. Like, when was the last time you boys sat down and wrote out your values? Like, and it's and this is kind of
6 months
you
ago.
Think
actually.
about that, yeah. So and beautiful, dude. Like, and that's the point, So the advice, while it's non-training advice, it's not got anything in terms of educational. That it's like I find if you know who you are and you uphold that consistently all the time, everything else starts to come as a byproduct of that. Because we're in a day and age where people smell bullshit. You can smell it from a fucking mile away. Right? So, like, if you are what you are and say you are, and to full circle it to a certain degree, like, the actions of what you do are greater than that of your words, kind of bringing in the proverb from the very beginning here, you will always do well. Right? It's when you go against that, or when your words outplay your actions, that's where you have a problem as a coach, specifically in this industry.
So you've got to walk the walk and talk the talk, not just talk shit.
Yeah, something along those lines. Sweet. To the thing. Thank you, boys.
Yeah.
Appreciate the invite on. Again, apologies if that went in 300 million hours in different places, but like,
no,
it's different. Maybe different to what you were expecting, but this is where we're at.
Gonna write down the values. Make sure straight after the call.
Yeah. One of the things I did a while ago, and like I haven't done this stuff in a long time, and some of it's a little bit up and down. Dr. DeMartini. I don't know if you ever heard of him. So Dr. DeMartini, you can do the values test. So he actually has like a free values test online. Very, like, look, take it for what it is, but I think it's a good start point. It's a really good start point in terms of starting to identify those, because it's easy for me to turn around and be like, yeah, write out your values. And like most people don't even know what the fuck that means. Like you can't, like we struggle to identify those things or sit there with ourselves and actually criticize ourselves. Right, like it's a challenging thing to do, to be able to look internally and be like, where am I fucking up? Like, what do I actually believe in? Like in my heart of hearts, like what do I actually believe in and what drives me forward? Right, so he's got some really good kind of like prompts, questions, tests that help you start to bring these things into alignment, and then you remember that this is a forever pursuit. Right? The goal is not to just like have a set of values and then like, I have a set of values. It's like, you got to do this thing every single day. It's like, action. That's it. Actions matter. I sometimes use the phrase, the saying, like, especially in the coaching industry, even if you're not full-time coach or you're in work or anything like that, if your current clients, if they were to follow you around for the whole day, would they be proud to be your client? Would they be proud of you? And if the answer is no, change something, because you're fucking up. If the answer is yes, keep doing what you're doing. Right, and that's kind of that actions over words thing. And you can't hold people to standards if you can't even do them yourself. So it's a big one.
That's an eye-opening one. I like that. I really like that, actually.
Yeah. And it just, it doesn't mean that you have to sit there and make decisions and ask yourself that every time. But when you make a decision, just ask yourself, like, would my clients be proud of this? If the answer is no, don't do it. If the answer is yes, keep doing it.
Perfect.
Sweet.
James,
boys,
thank you so much for your time, mate. I really do appreciate it. Especially you
sorry,
you went off on one. You've actually given us a good bit of value there and a lot more to actually think about to go with.
Oh, yeah. That is not just me talking fucking bullshit into the industry. So hopefully someone gets something from this.
Definitely will. Brother.
All right, boys.
Have a fucking phenomenal day.
Yeah, enjoy your night. Go wind down. Go to sleep and go from there.
My day's only starting, so 9 a.m. Let's get it.
Yeah. Just
Stan.